Welcome back to my conversation with Samata Narra, where we're talking about why some shows stick and others don't. Let's get right back into it.
You've now begun to expect that now everything's going to end darkly. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. I think it is a bit of that, quite honestly.
That makes me so incredibly sad.
Yeah.
I hope that we can create, again, this is a problem when you've worked with too many comedy writers. It's the idea of that. I was just saying the idea of that. It just is very sad to me that we can't expect that content could have a sad ending or a happy ending.
But isn't that
was a surprise to you?
Yeah, it was a surprise to me. But look, therein lies the opportunity, and I think that and people always say, when times are when times are depressing or things are not great, like for example in the height of the pandemic, people want to see happy stuff, and when there's everything's great and the world is all going well, the economy is doing well, of that people like to watch dark stuff. I think that's just a load of shit. I think people it really, yes, maybe you can generalize to some degree, but then you go a little bit deeper, it's not about that. I think it really varies from context to context. But coming back to, I want to come back to comedy again and for a second.
Can I just say one thing that you said, which is I think what you just said is you described a global audience, right? And not only have you said this, I think this is the ultimate segue back to the idea of inclusion, right? Which is that you can't make any assumptions about anyone, right? Absolutely. You can ask the question, but you can't make any assumptions because everybody has their own unique story, right? Yeah. And so much of I feel like conflict and, from something as simple as being in an office or not being in an office, so much conflict comes from making assumptions about things or people. And it's everybody just let's assume some best intentions and and just be inclusive, because this gets back to the simple idea is we're just trying to get back to kindergarten rules, to me, right?
Yeah. What you said right now is, I'll tell you, people sometimes, soon after I went to business school, and people would ask me, so what's the best thing you got out of there, or what do you learn from, what impact did it have on you? I can distill it down to one thing. I mean, there's a lot I got out of it, but the single most important lesson I got out of business school, so I went to INSEAD, which is super international, and, it's all about being the business school for the world or whatever. And even though, in spite of the fact that I had this super global upbringing and lived in a bunch of countries, speaking a bunch of languages, all of that, what my time at INSEAD really left me with was a very, very deep understanding of the fact that different people think differently. And I really understood it then. And that is probably, and that's, it's easy to forget that. And it's very human to forget that, to assume that everyone's going to, because I'm thinking like this, or I feel like this, someone else.
It has nothing to do with anybody's intelligence level.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has everything to do with, I'm learning this so much, right? Which is everyone is different, and I knew this, and I've known this for so long. I was a manager of I think about my old life of being in representation, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, I represented a lot of different directors, producers, writers.
And you started at WME, didn't you?
Oh, that was my first, I was an assistant for a year, just a day under a year. And I left there with Ross Feynman, and started a production management company with him.
Right. And you worked
that was before it was cool to do that.
And you and Suchir worked together.
Suchir, yes, we did. You know Suchir.
Yeah, he works at CA. He's an agent at CAA and works with us.
Those are my some of my favorites. Suchir, David. Now they work together. It's such a delight to see the band back together over there.
So you were saying, sorry. Yeah.
Wait, we were talking about. Anyway, I think we'd finished that thought, but do you want to? I don't remember what the next thing is. Sorry.
No, you were saying
This is the problem, Roopak. We were just having fun.
Yeah, exactly. No, your career representing talent.
Oh, I spent so much time in management that, you're managing 30 people at a time and those are 30 different businesses, right?
Yeah. And
Each business is very different, right? And there's a personality associated with that business. Each one has many different demands, right?
Names like Stan Lee.
I mean, let's be honest. Ross represented Stan Lee, and I got to reap the benefits of that because I did a lot of working for the whole company, right? When it's only two of you, you get promoted quickly and you do the job a lot quicker, right? Mm-hmm. But it was, that was some of the most amazing times, 23-year-old and getting to hang out with Stan Lee.
Seriously.
What the heck? One of my favorite lunches with him was at Johnny Rockets. He ate a chili dog, and I was so delighted with my grilled cheese and milkshake. It was quite a delight.
I can imagine. Wow. And how long did you work there?
So that was until 2011. So 2004 to 2011, I was there.
Wow.
And it was, I learned so much. And you meet so many, I used to call begging Adrienne Turner to read my writers, right? She was the executive on Friends who works with me now at Warner Brothers, and
right.
Developed Ted Lasso, so many great shows right now. And it's without that, I wouldn't know all the people that I know now, right? Because I had to sell to every place at that time. And those are all the executives now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, and then there's your other major experience that stands out for me, which I told, again, my boys started fanboying over you when I told them about your Brooklyn Nine-Nine experience. So let's talk about that a bit.
Well, I can talk about that, but I got the opportunity to meet Mike Schur, Dan Gore, and all the amazing people through that. There was a lot of other executives working incredibly hard day to day on that show. But what was really fun is that I got to be a part of the development process on the pilot. And what's even cooler is I think I mentioned her earlier, was Susanna Marcus, my old boss, is over at HBO Max. And it had been a passion of hers to do a cop show. We'd been, since the moment I met her, that was something that she wanted to do. And that was it. And
then you tell me you were a Police Academy fan too?
I used to represent Neil Israel that wrote Police Academy. And that's because I had the opportunity to sit there and talk to him he cared what I thought when I first came to Hollywood. In the first couple of years I was in Hollywood. So connect those two dots, that's amazing.
Yeah, that really is.
And what I loved about Brooklyn is that it was the opportunity to do those kinds of characters again.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
And you can bring anyone in and out of that. And I think what's really interesting about this is we can connect this back to your love of The Wire. Mm-hmm. Mr. Andre Braugher, one of the greatest delights of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And the fact that he did The Wire and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that makes me really, really proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I got to give ups to our casting people. That's when you realize that, oh my gosh, you can change the entire course of a comedy and what can happen in a comedy by, oh my gosh, you just came up. That's an incredible idea.
It is. It totally is. You're right. It's a classic casting coup, as they say. Casting.
I'm going to say that the writing had something to do with it, and the talent relationships. I'm not going to say that it all goes to one person in this scenario, but there's got to be a lot of things going in the right direction, right? To get Andre Braugher to do a network sitcom after doing The Wire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, we already had Andy Samberg. It was like there was so much wonderful stuff. I mean, there's so many great actors on that show.
Yeah. And how many seasons is Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I'm looking it up now.
Well, because it left us and went to NBC. So 7 now, 8. It's hard to track shows that you no longer get to work on, especially when it has nothing to do with it's, you get so just watching every episode because you're just like, I got a chance at working on that.
Yeah.
And then there's part of you that's sad that you don't get to watch it, like that you don't get to be on the inside of it anymore. Like that happened with the Mindy Project too.
Yeah.
Those are deaths. Those are like deaths, like mourning a show getting canceled on your own platform and seeing it go someplace else.
Yeah.
That someone else found greater value in your show, or maybe, I guess, less value in a way. Same value, right?
Right.
Because they own it anyway.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible show to have around.
Yeah. Yeah. But speaking of comedy, again, I keep wanting to come back to it, and it's an unanswered question.
I mean, we are talking about comedy. We're talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. No, what I mean is about representation in comedy. I just wanted to talk a little bit, and it's not just in comedy, but in general, being two South Asians talking about, what you do for a living, which is equity and inclusion, and just looking at the portrayal of, I'm totally struck by the massive shift in the portrayal of South Asians or brown people on screen in Hollywood or in or even in the UK or, Canada. So anything outside of really South Asia, and how that has changed radically, both on screen and behind the camera in the telling of the stories. And in fact, I mean, that's one of the fundamental premises and the opportunity that we see as a company, which is one of the pillars on which we're building Bang Bang as well, is the fact that there seems to be a very clear brown moment at play, and not to kind of say this is at the cost of other people or anything, but there's just an emergence and a big difference in the way that our people are portrayed. And it's, on one hand, it's about, it's about what you see on screen, as I said, and the other is about how the point of view, the perspective, and the gaze from which these stories are being told. And comedy is where it first broke, with Aziz, Mindy, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, how have you related to all of this, being a South Asian in Hollywood in comedy?
How have I related to it?
Yeah. What do you think happened? How did all
doing
this
cartwheels.
Happen? Yeah.
I think I'm doing cartwheels, but not at the expense of others. I just love funny people. And the fact that I don't know what the numbers are, and maybe I should know this data, but I hope to know this data very clearly one day, which is how many South Asians in Hollywood there are. I mean, if you really think about just what the change has been in just the last several, even when I started 20 years ago, right? Or a little less than 20 years ago, to see it now. I mean, David Tagioff, me, Suchir, Bella, I can name Simran, I can name the people. I can't name every Indian in Hollywood now. I used to be able to name people.
Right.
And know most of them. Right. I mean, Hollywood is quote unquote, it's also very different now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting, but I hope it's because they see themselves, right? That it's an option, right? Mm-hmm. I think our culture, I don't know. I think my generation and culture matter a lot, and nature versus nurture means a lot. And I think, very lucky. My dad was pretty supportive. I don't think anybody was excited, thrilled, doing cartwheels that I wanted to move out to LA, not take the job that I was offered. Or I don't even know if I told my parents that I think I might have told them I didn't get a job. I did have 2 job offers. Don't tell them. They might listen to, no, they don't know how to use podcasts. But I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm lucky because they didn't give me that much crap. And I have I think a lot of other people that I grew up with, I don't think that they would have been quite encouraged to do this at all. I don't think I was pushed out the door to do it, but I was definitely like, I was like, I guess I'll go try it. And if I fail, I'll be back, was really what the kind of narrative is there.
Got it. Yeah. You've grown up playing sports. I think you've been an avid basketball fan and player since you were pretty young. And you play golf now. I don't know what else you do, but I think
skiing. I love skiing.
Wow. So there's a lot of, I mean, look, Hollywood has always had a lot of content around sports, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, and basketball have all been, very well represented. But I feel like, and again, this is just a feeling, but there seems to be a lot more, whether it's scripted or documentary stuff that's being done around sports. Is this something that you personally, while comedy is one side of, what you've been passionate about, that's where you've sort of the ground that you've come from. But what do you think is next in sports content? And do you think that there's going to be a lot more of this? And are there sports that haven't been explored that are going to come to the fore and have sort of stories around them and coming from them? And is it something that you look at as a potential platform within your equity and inclusion framework as well? Because sports is something that really brings people together way more than a lot of other stuff.
I mean, I get to be at the place that had the LFG documentary. Like women's soccer, I didn't grow up playing soccer. We didn't have a soccer team. I feel like the last time I could play soccer was like in second grade because it was Little League, and then there was no soccer program.
Wow.
And so because of that, I, what you like what you can't have. And I didn't have soccer, and I didn't have skiing, really. It was hard to get to that. So I learned that later in life, and I freaking love it. But sports content is all think about it as like enthusiasts and fans. I think it's like superheroes, right? Yeah. There's fandom around sports, and I think there'll always be content about sports. But that was a silly question. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but I do think that the production of sports is going to be changing and ever evolving. Because they do some of the coolest stuff with technology. That's for sure. That's for sure. No, there's no doubt about that. The camera movements that you have to be able to get, you get to, and you have to produce that day of. That's the thing that really fascinates me is live productions. Yeah. That's not something I've, had a part of my repertoire, if you will, of development, but seeing what goes into and what's going to happen even this weekend with the Super Bowl and what you have to accomplish. I'm so impressed by people that produce that. No, there's no doubt that production value has gone up over there for sure. And definitely, drones and the like. And drones have changed everything for sure as far as sports content. By the way, filmmaking too, please. That crane shot. Yeah. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But what I was referring to as well was, stuff like, Ted Lasso, Swagger, King Richard. Okay. So moving tracks, tell me about Film to Future. Oh, Film to Future. That has been a labor of absolute love that I worked on with Rachel Miller, who is the founder of Haven Entertainment. And it is a nonprofit that is the brainchild of Rachel Miller. And it basically serves underserved youth from LAUSD, and we have a curriculum that goes over 4 years, essentially. After freshman year of high school, you can apply to be a part of the program, and you make shorts. You make a short a summer. And the first year is narrative film, television, if you will, content. I mean, what's film and television now? Animation. And then we also are doing, hopefully, I'm pretty sure this is happening. I hope I don't blow the announcement, but we're doing podcasting and animation this year. So we're going to be doing 2 programs. So I'm really excited just about like what we're teaching. And the reason why it's called Film to Future is because we try to kind of bring in innovative new ways of bringing content to the world, to the kids, because as you and I both know, it's all changing, and it's going to be cool to be able to bring in the new technologies. And most filmmaking programs I've seen have been mostly focused on one format of another of traditional filmmaking. But that's the beauty of being with the kids for 4 years, right? Because you get to introduce new mediums. And that's what excites me the most about it, is that the cornerstone of really technology and storytelling, right?
How old are these kids?
They start after freshman year of high school. Okay. And so you can apply then. Applications are actually open right now. I hope there's some LAUSD kids listening. Our goal is to do this globally one day. I hope Rachel doesn't hear this podcast, because she'll probably go nuts, because she'll pull her hair out. But that's the goal, is to continue it. And I will tell you one part of the program that I love the most, which is that we really are trying to get kids to take responsibility in the storytelling that they're putting out there. We try our best to get the kids to understand also that social media, what you put there, and if you do want to be a filmmaker, you do want to be in, anything, it's what the message you put out there is really important, because that follows you wherever you go. And what is the message that you want to send? And so when they're putting their content out there, it's like, think about it, right? Yeah. And so we do a whole curriculum around that too. So it's cool.
Yeah. And you said something about, you talked about, the global ambition. And I don't know, how are you looking at doing that? Are you looking for partners globally to roll this out in different markets? If I know it's not an immediate thing, but at some point, because if there are people out there who are listening.
Are you committing on this podcast to?
Well, I'm interested in talking to you about it for sure. But if anyone else here for their part,
it's going to take money.
Yeah. And it sounds like something that
it's going to take money from a large brand. That's what I always say to, exactly. That's what I always say to Rachel. I was like, we're making content. I was like, let somebody teach the children. It's really insightful to be able to see how the next generation is thinking too.
I agree.
And that's been really fun. I mean, you have a kid, so I'm sure that's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting in itself. And the fact that they know how to edit shit by the age of 11.
I don't know what would happen if I had it all on my phone when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think I would have done so much. My first, did I tell you this, that the first ever film I did was a documentary film about my grandmother?
At what age?
It was 8th grade. It's because of a program. It was a program I did. It was a one-day program at this place called Apple Shop in Whitesburg, Kentucky.
Wow.
And I learned how to edit there, and I loved editing after that. I made all the videos for my friends' weddings, and did interviews and did all of that stuff. And I was that person. But at a young age was very into actually editing things together. Wow. I like the puzzle of it and the monotony in some cases, but yeah, I knew I couldn't live forever editing stuff. It was too frustrating. But if you're someone that the precision of editing is.
It is really frustrating, and you need a lot of patience, but some people are really good at it, but so much has changed as well. And speaking of which,
but just to be clear, the documentary was my mom laughed when she saw it for the first time.
Laughed as in
because it was so bad. She's like, "Don't show this to anybody."
Oh, it wasn't comedy.
People won't believe you're in the entertainment industry. I just revealed it to her after my grandmother passed away. Didn't I tell you this? I thought I told you this.
No.
It was. Oh my gosh, Connor didn't want to come up, and because he thought that my mom would be really sad. And everybody just started laughing. It was me, my dad, and my mom. And she's like, please don't tell anybody that you're in the entertainment industry. No one will believe me.
Yeah. How long is it?
Oh, it's like 8 minutes or something like that.
Can I see it?
No, definitely not. You won't even recognize my voice, but you won't even know it's me. I'm kidding. No, one day I'll show it to you.
It's a sweet story.
We'll have a soon do it on Brown History. I'll submit it. No one will know it's me. I'll do it anonymously.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's the only way you'll ever know. Soon we'll have the secret.
For our listeners, Ehsan Zafar is the man behind Brown History. Brown History is his brainchild, and Bang Bang and New York City production company Honto 88 are working together with Ehsan to do the Brown History show, coming soon to a streamer near you. So I want to ask you what, so much has changed since you started in this business. And looking at all these changes, what advice would you give to someone who's starting out right now? Has it changed, or is it still the same kind of advice that you kind of followed yourself or wish you'd followed?
I always had so much wisdom before with this. I felt like I had so much wisdom with this, but I think very simply is that you can learn from any experience in this business and take what you can get as soon as you can get it, because learning and understanding what the entertainment business is and how it works, there's a part of it that is just like any other business, but there's another part of it that is, I think, the thing that is magical about everything, which is that you're still in the content business, right? And and this goes back to your original thing of Hollywood, right? The perception of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. And that there is a part of it. That's the magical part of it.
But, what's amazing is that is actually almost exactly the same thing that I would say to someone. And the other thing is that nothing has changed in 20 or 25 years, which is essentially, attach yourself to someone or some place where you can learn. It doesn't matter what you're doing for the first couple of years. Just do it. And then move on from there. But, either in the same place or to somewhere else. But, it's just about, and be prepared to do anything.
Yeah. Shalok.
Yeah.
He wants to be an actor. He's over here and he's producing podcasts. That's okay.
Yep. Spot on. And he's produced podcasts before as well, but yeah.
Just so you know, he's the producer on this podcast.
That's right. Okay, cool. So we can sort of, before we wrap up, a couple of questions that I ask everyone. The first one is, what are you watching, reading, or listening to right now that you want to tell the world about? Or even if it's not right now, in the past year. Oh,
in the past year, I had the opportunity of reading Payal Kadakia's Life Pass book. And it's currently hitting shelves.
Oh,
and
ClassPass changed my life.
That makes me so happy to hear. You know that I danced with her in college?
Oh, really? So it changed my life.
That poor girl who is an incredible, amazing dancer had to teach me how to dance. I feel so bad for her. I actually still say I'm sorry when I see her. She's a wonderful human being.
That's great. And so you guys went to college together?
She went to MIT. My parents wish I went to MIT.
Right.
But we met through, she used to do our cultural shows because I was like, you don't have to go to BU to be in our cultural shows. If you want to dance with your friends, come dance with your friends. I think you knew this. I was president of the Indian Association after having no Indian friends my freshman year.
Yeah. And so the book is, what's it called? Life Pass?
Life Pass, yes, of course.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's a goal-setting book. I really appreciate it. It brings your passion and your work together.
Is it out yet, or did you get an early read?
Well, I got a very early read. I feel like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I did get a very early read. And then she's putting it out, I think it's February 4th. I should know this, but I'm not her publicist, so I'm just a friend.
March 15th.
Thank you. I knew it was around Valentine's Day, but I wasn't sure. Her birthday was just this last week, I think, too. So.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it, too. Nice. Thank you for telling me about that. And the last question is, if you could put up a billboard for the world to see, what would your message be? Hat tip to Tim Ferriss for this.
Dream crazy. That Nike campaign was really good.
Nice. Dream crazy. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you. This has been awesome. And we will catch up soon, and can't wait for the world to listen to this.
I'm very worried.
Okay.
As always, it's great to talk to you. Next time, I hope I get to see you.
Yeah, likewise.